Good morning, friends. This is Dr. Rajat from the Department of ECE at BMS, College of Engineering. So today we will look at how to simulate a differential amplifier in the Cadence tools. Okay, so I hope you're able to see the screen. So the first command you need to type at the Linux prompt is csh to make sure you're in the C shell. Okay, then you have to source this chsrc file. It is better you use tabs so that you don't make any mistake when you are typing. And once you are done that, you are entering the Cadence tools, then you can browse to the particular directory in which the tools are located. And then Virtuoso is the schematic editor. Okay, ampersand is typically used to suppress the output. It is not mandatory, but generally used. Okay, so the Virtuoso tool is opening up. So the first step I think you are familiar with is to create a library, right? So go to File, New, Library, give some name. Here I'm just giving MST Lab Recording. All right, then as you are familiar, you need to attach to an existing technology library file, okay, which is GPDK 180 for us. So GPDK stands for General Purpose Development Kit and 180 for 180 nanometer as the channel length. All right, so the library is successfully created. And then you create a new cell view, which is a new schematic out here. So I'll call this schematic as a differential amplifier. Okay, and we have the license for Excel version of schematic, so we'll use that. Okay, so this is how I hope you are familiar with the schematic editor window, right? So basically now we have to put the transistors, and whenever you are searching for any components, it is better you show the categories. So when you do show category, it will give you the various categories which are out there. So as you can see here, you will get uncategorized or BIP, bipolar, capacitor, diode, and so on. So now we want the MOS transistor, so I'll create click on MOS and then NMOS. All right, and then as you can see in the differential amplifier designs, especially in analog designs, we'll not use the minimum channel length. So the minimum channel length here is going to be 180 nanometer, but we'll use longer and wider transistors for the analog design. Okay, so for the NMOS, we are going to use 1 micron length and 3 micron width. All right, and then for differential amplifiers, you can flip it sideways so that the schematic will look nice. Right, for the differential pair, the other one, if you just click sideways, you will have this, which is flipped horizontally. All right, so it will look good when you are doing the schematic. Okay, so NMOS is over. Now we'll select the PMOS. Okay, again, PMOS is appearing as the load. So usually the PMOS, we will choose a much wider transistor. All right, and then place it there as the load. And then the other transistor, again, you can flip it horizontally, right, so that you can do the connections nicely. Right, again, you can see the channel length is going to be 1 micron. All right, yeah, so place it there. And then we are going to need one more NMOS transistor to build the current mirror in order to bias the tail current source properly. Okay, and then do the connections. That particular connection which is just done will define the bias voltage, and then you do a diode connection. The diode connected transistor will give you a current mirror. All right, so complete that connection. So that will form a current mirror. And then you can connect the sources of these two, and that will go to VSS anyhow. So that connection is being done. All right, and then you will always connect the body terminal to the lowest voltage for the NMOS transistor. So again, that is also going to VSS. Okay. Similarly, the other side as well. So the body terminal is shorted to source essentially. So okay, then the input transistor source. The sources of the two input transistors are now shorted, and that is given to the drain of the tail current source. Then you are connecting the drain of the PMOS to the drain of NMOS. Then the gates of the two PMOS are shorted. Again, the PMOS drain is connected to NMOS drain. And then the source of the PMOS will go to VDD. Okay. And again, the bulk or the body terminal of the PMOS will be connected to the highest voltage, which is there in the circuit. So that connection is being done. Okay. Similarly for the other PMOS transistor as well. Okay, I guess the mouse is slightly slow. It's not been able to cope up. All right. Okay. So the bulk and the source terminals are shorted, and here, in order to do the bias voltages, so here we will do the diode connection for one PMOS, right? So this is going to be like a current mirror load. Okay, so therefore we are going to have differential input and single-ended output. Okay, so to these two terminals, we need to connect the input ports, which we'll do in a minute. Okay, so this is the other input. Okay, so now we are going to connect the output here. Yeah. Okay, so that is the output. Yeah, I guess now we are ready to define the pins. Oh, okay, so this one more body terminal connection is missing. So do that connection. And this wire which I just connected, that has to be given to VSS. Okay, so now we will define the pin connections. So IDC, the input bias current, then VCC, VSS, V1 and V2 for the two inputs. Okay. So that is VCC, we'll give it at the top. Then you have VSS, then V1, and then V2. So you can notice that V1 is going to be actually the inverting input to the differential amplifier, and V2 will be the non-inverting input. Okay, and Vout is going to be the output pin. Okay, so you can notice that this is going to be a differential input, single-ended output differential amplifier. You can also call it a 5-pack transistor, right? Essentially, the op-amp or the differential amplifier is having 5 transistors. And the other one, the sixth one, this particular NMOS is being used for generating the bias voltage. Okay, so complete the connections. All right. Okay, so that is done. So at every point, you should remember to check and save. I guess there is a warning here. What was it for? This particular point out here, the point where it's connected to VSS, there, 3 wires are crossing that point. So that is not allowed in cadence. So we have to remove one of the wires there, right? A maximum of 2 wires only can intersect at a point. Okay, so let us rectify that. Okay, so you can see that 2 wires are being intersected at that particular point. So in order to tap the connection for VSS point, we need to take tap at some other point. All right, so this will avoid the warning. Okay, so at a given point, only 2 wires can cross. If more than 2 cross, then when you do check and save, it will throw up a warning. Okay, so that problem should now be corrected. Yes. All right. Okay, so that is the schematic of the differential amplifier. Only one small thing is missing. Yeah, so this size of the tail current source will slightly increase it because it has to carry the current of 2 transistors. So we'll make it 4.5 micron. And typically the transistor which carries the bias current will have a smaller width. But here for the ease of simulation, we'll also make it the same width itself. So that whatever bias current we give, the same current will be mirrored in the tail current source for the differential amplifier. All right. So most of the schematic is done. Only thing to the bulk voltage of the two NMOS devices, the differential pair, that has to be connected to VSS. All right. So let us do that particular point. Right. So the bulk of the two NMOS of the differential pair is connected and labeled as VSS. Okay, so that the bulk of the NMOS of the differential pair is also given to the lowest voltage in the circuit. Okay, so now we proceed to create a symbol out of this schematic view. Okay, so all these pins, this is basically aesthetics. So we'll make the inputs IDC, V1 and V2 appear on the left hand side of the symbol, Vout on the right hand side of the symbol, VCC on the top, VSS below. Okay, this is just for aesthetics. And you can also draw a triangular shaped symbol if you want. We'll just go with the rectangle one because I'm interested in only showing you the operation. So the aesthetics, you can do it. A part name will change. We'll call it differential amplifier, diffamp for short. All right. So you can see that IDC, V1, V2 are the three inputs which are given on the left hand side. VCC and VSS power supply given on the top and the bottom respectively. And then we have the output on the right hand side. All right, so that is the symbol which is created for our differential amplifier. Now we can go ahead and create one more cell view, right? We'll create one more schematic which will test this differential amplifier. So we'll call it differential amplifier underscore TB. And then again, we'll use the schematics Excel because we have the license for that. And then we will start building the test bench. Okay, so we have to now instantiate the symbol of the circuit which we just created. All right, so created, right? It is the differential amplifier. Okay, differential amplifier which I need to instantiate. I've created the symbol for that just now. Not the TB, differential amplifier. Yeah, correct. All right. So instantiate that. Then we need to give the various power supply and the bias current. Right. So again, we are going to click on I for the instance creation. Okay, so now we need to go to the analog lib, right? Go to the analog lib. There you go to the sources, right? Independent sources. Then you can choose VDC for the DC voltage. So here the DC voltage is going to be 2.5 volts. We will give. Okay, so this is VCC. So we'll give plus 2.5 volts. And for VSS, we will give minus 2.5 volts. All right. Alternatively, you can give 5 volts to VCC and 0 to VSS. That is also possible. But the advantage of doing a plus 2.5 and minus 2.5 is that the inputs, right, the actual AC inputs, they can be, the average value can be 0. That is the only advantage. Right. If you make VSS as ground and VCC as 5 volt, then maybe the input itself, you have to put it on a common mode of 2.5 volt. Okay. So this is just to avoid that. Although both should behave the same way. Okay, so we are going to define the DC current of 30 microampere and then connect that. All right. Yeah, and here we'll make one small simplification. We'll just give V2 to ground, and we will give an input signal. Okay, so we'll call it as V sine. So that particular voltage, we will just give it to the inverting terminal V1. Okay, so here the gain of this amplifier is going to be pretty large. It's about 100 for the design we have done. So the input needs to be small enough so that even after gain, the swing is not going to be too much, right? Only then it is going to work as an amplifier. If you give too much input voltage, then the output will saturate to the power rails. So we'll just give 5 millivolts for the signal. All right. And yeah, frequency will just give us 1 kilohertz. And then connect this particular source to V1. the inverting terminal. Yeah, amplitude will make 5 milliamp. Frequency will make it as 1 kilohertz. Yeah, frequency. Okay. Yeah, and then connect this particular one to the inverting input terminal of the differential amplifier. Okay, that is done. Right. Now we have to create a output pin. Yeah, call it V0, and then just connect the output of the differential amplifier to that particular pin. Okay. Yeah, so now we are done with the test bench. One more thing, we'll just label this particular input signal as V in, so that when we do the plotting of the waveform later on, we'll get a fixed name, right? Otherwise, it will give some net name, which we may not be able to identify. Okay, then launch the analog design environment. Right, make sure we are using the Spectre simulator. Then set up the model libraries. So we are going to use the GPDK library. It should be in the section stat. Just verify that. You can also set the temperature, but anyway, we have just set 27 degrees. Okay, so we need to do 3 types of analysis. Transient analysis, you can set it to 5 millisecond time duration. You can have the moderate as the error bar. Then do the DC analysis, set up the DC analysis. So we are going to essentially choose the component which is going to be the signal, right? We'll just change the DC voltage of that particular input, and that is going to be our design parameter for the DC analysis. All right, and we'll vary this DC voltage from -5 to +5. Of course, that's an overkill. You could have varied even from -2.5 to +2.5. That is also fine, because VSS itself was -2.5 volts. All right, that is the DC. Then next is the AC analysis. So mainly we'll vary the frequency, right? We'll vary it from let us say 10 hertz to 100 megahertz. Here you have to be very careful. You have to select the logarithmic sweep. Otherwise, this is going to take too much time. Points per decade, you can give 10 or 20 based on how much time you have for simulation. All right. So those are the 3 analyses we have to do. Okay. Fine. Let us set up the outputs to be plotted. We'll plot the output as well as the input. Okay, so here you can see, okay, there is one more ground which has come. Let me just delete it. Oh, another thing also got deleted. So you can see here, V in is appearing clearly as the name of the signal. If you don't use a label, then some random net name will come and sit there. It may not be very intuitive to identify. All right, so let us netlist and run. And then, yes, now we can see the output. You have the transient, the DC, and also the AC response. So mainly look at the transient. The input is a clean sinusoidal wave, right? And you can see the output below. Yeah, the output is also almost sinusoidal, right? Almost perfectly sinusoidal. And you can also see that we are having a gain of about 100, right? Then you can see the DC analysis as well, right? The input is a straight line, right? It's varying from -5 volt to +5 volt, and you can see the output. It has got a limited range where it is linear, after which it is going to saturate to the power supply rails, namely +2.5, -2. The usual and the AC response also has been now derived correctly, right? So you can see that roughly there is about 100 volt, which is the output, and you can also see the tapering away. All right. So since this is the differential amplifier, we will need to find both the differential gain and the common mode gain, and then find the common mode rejection ratio. So therefore, we are going to do the AC response. So all the parameters we are setting, the frequency variation, and then we'll do a netlist and run again for the AC response. So this only AC analysis was done this time. So you can see the frequency response. Okay, so we'll let us plot the gain in dB. So you can go to results, direct plot AC dB 20. Then you click on the output, then click escape. You will get this waveform. And then you can see here directly that the gain is around 40 dB, right? 40 dB corresponds to a gain of 100. So that is correct. Then let us try to find the bandwidth of this response, right? So you can use the calculator there under tools. Okay, so essentially in the signal, you need to click on this waveform so that you'll get the name of the signal. And then this bandwidth is the 3 dB bandwidth. And then this is a low pass response. So that is how we have this bandwidth calculator, which is going to come. So you can copy that expression, which is out there, bandwidth dB20, VF, V0, 3 low, that is the expression. You can copy that expression and then put it into the ADE, right? You can set up the outputs, right? Click on the outputs, then set up. Then you can give some name, BW for bandwidth, and then you can give this expression and then add to the list of outputs. Then if you run the simulation again, then the value of the bandwidth will be displayed right there in the window because it's a single number. Okay, so that was the AC response. And you can see here, right, 29.929 megahertz is the bandwidth. All right, you can also plot the gain in dB if you're interested. Results direct plot AC dB20. Then go and click on the output terminal, click escape, then you'll have this plot which will come. Of course, here I note there is some discrepancy in the actual number. Anyhow, you can do it either way. Either you can use the calculator or you can also use the marker and then find what is the actual bandwidth. Okay. Now we need to also find the differential gain and the common mode gain. So here we have done the differential simulation. So we will note the differential gain at two different frequencies, 100 hertz and 100 megahertz. All right. So these 2 points, you note down the gains. Right, at 100 hertz, you can see gain is 40.17 dB, and at 100 megahertz, you can see it is 17.15 dB. All right, and then you can also click on this graph and then go to trace, and then you can export it. Okay, export it and save it as a voltage comma separated file, comma separated variable. So VCSV. You can give it some name. I'll give it differential small signal analysis. Okay, and save it in some folder which is accessible to you. All right, and you can just save it. Fine. So that is the differential response. Now let us go for the common mode response. So here the common mode response, what you can do, you can delete that wire which is connecting V2 to ground, and then just connect it to the V1. Just short V2 to V1, right? So that both the inputs, both the non-inverting and the input and the inverting input of the differential amplifier are connected to the same signal, right? So this will be the common mode signal. And then everything else will remain the same because we are essentially interested in the AC analysis. The range of frequencies will be same and everything will be same. We can just run it, netlist and run. So here you can find that the gain, the common mode gain is increasing with frequency after a point, right? So that is indicating the presence of a zero. So let us do the plot in dB. So you can go to results, direct plot, AC dB20. All right, and then click on the output, then click escape. Then you can see the plot here. So this is going to be the common mode response. So naturally, clearly you can here notice that you are having a zero in the response. So again, we'll find the gain at the two frequencies, 100 hertz and 100 megahertz, right? Have these two markers. You can see at 100 hertz, this gain is about minus 53 dB, and at 100 megahertz, it's about minus 20 dB. So then easily you can find what is the common mode rejection ratio, right? At these two frequencies, you just take the difference, right? So at 100 hertz, you know that the common mode rejection ratio will be about 95 dB, 93 dB actually, right? And at the 100 megahertz, it is about 37 dB. All right. So you can also export this trace as well, and then we can also plot the common mode rejection ratio as a function. Okay, so here I had exported the trace if you saw my video previously, right? So this CSV file, I imported it into Excel, extracted the values, and then using Octave, I have done the plot here. Okay, so this blue color line which you are seeing is the response for the differential gain, right? And this is the frequencies out here on the x-axis. This is plotted on a semi-log scale. So you can see the response of the differential gain in blue. So you can see that there is one pole behavior which is out there. All right. Then similarly, this red curve is that for the common mode response. Okay, so you can see this almost flat up till this and then increasing here. So that is due to the presence of a zero. All right, and then the CMRR, common mode rejection ratio, shown in orange here, is nothing but the difference of the differential gain and the common mode gain. So the differential gain divided by the common mode gain, but this is on a dB scale. So on a dB scale, the differential division will turn into subtraction, right? So you just have to do the blue curve minus the red curve, and you get this orange curve, which is representing the CMRR, common mode rejection ratio, right? So this is nearly 100 as we had calculated. This comes out to be around 93 dB. All right, and then it starts tapering off, right? Here, both the pole in the differential gain and the zero of the common mode gain will contribute to a reduction in the common mode rejection ratio. All right. Fine. So that is the simulation and the results and explanation of the differential amplifier with differential input and single-ended output. Okay. Thank you.